I'm assuming came out all of you, if not all, was able to talk and learning with you today. At some point, you realize you should communicate with him on the phone with some catcher, and he got so excited and he kept going and kept calling you back. You had that experience? You managed to tap into the powerful Avos HaTorah with his Avos HaMishpacha together. Let's give out. I can imagine he was, very ready to really create a strong relationship based on it. We're going to talk a little bit about our memories and the matters, these govias and madrigas that Yosef was massive bechayev. But we first have to clarify why is it so important to do this. The person feel a gaiva that my Zayda's goal has some value, but that's not the main value. What's the importance of knowing it? You have a Zayda, a Mama video, a Yitzhak video, you're not missing gichas. So why is it so important? And the main answer why it's very important is because you are any kind of this, you obviously have the greatness that he had and Lord out himself. You have it somewhere in you, somewhere in your DNA. And either you've already started bringing it out, or you have yet to do that, but you have to know what you got to do. Every one of you could get to madrigas and shaykh to it, with your madriga, because you have the DNA system of being enigach, the dmus of seeing it, and there's a mishnah that Av is mezakis benoi. Even matters that he gets after he gave birth to the child. The person stays, he can be mezakis benoi. It's a fascinating thing. It's not like he's born after that matter. Even if he got the matter even afterwards. The Gemara tells us about the sons of Shmuel and Novi. The pasuk says that they didn't go to the Chachos. And the pasuk says terrible things about them. They took shaychad, they were matzah mishpat. Terrible things about Bnei Shmuel. The Gemara chapter says that kol ha'imim Bnei Shmuel chatu einei l'tayah. So, Amad in Mekayim, the pasuk. Vayatu achar betza vayiku sheicha vayatu mishpat. He's saying like Chotum. So I'll explain. No, they just didn't do what Shmuel did. Shmuel used to be mechazer b'chol hayomas Yisrael to be done Klal Yisrael b'orayim. He wouldn't wait for them to come to him. He would circulate through all the cities of Yisrael in order to offer mishpat. They didn't do that. They stayed home. L'shem Shemayim. They did not because they were lazy. They wanted that their sefer they should get out. If they do what they found, they running around all over, so then there would be no place for the sefer ben. So Kadin lahav schar l'sefer, they stayed home. So that's why you're saying that's called vayatu, din and lachushaycha and going after beta, because they didn't do Shmuel's madriga. So Shai is that this was Shmuel's chiddush to it. Eli didn't do that. That was the big chiddush of Shtei Gabi Shmuel, Kol Makom Sha'ilah Beis Ima. Nobody before him or nobody else after him ever did it. So why are you slamming the Bnei Shmuel for not doing the Hanhoga of Shmuel? Slam anybody. The teretz is obvious that if your father is Shmuel, and you're a kid and you're asking, Mommy, where's Tati? When's he coming home? Where is he? And she says, no, he's out there in Tzvas adjudicating some dispute over there. He's busy being mechazer. When's he coming over? You don't have time to come home. You're growing up with those hasagas. So my man, it's expected of you, and it's much easier for you to be kind of those mammals because you're growing up with it. So they are nitba for not having the madriga. Shmuel, no one else is nitba. That was Shmuel's azach. He got that madriga. He had a certain Indian, a certain word. That wouldn't be shy to anybody else but his body. So that's what's very relevant. That you having this live most seeing and knowing and remembering clearly what you had, what you saw, and so that makes it easy for you to be kind of these madrigas, and it makes makes a big chiyuv also. Puts on a chrayis and it gives a guy even the kedusha also. It's the person likes to know that he's not the tchil kedusha, and he has a Messiah, and that's also a good important point. But what's most important is just to know that you have it in you, and you have to bring it out, and you nip on it because of your shyness to it. You was cowards to it. So let's talk about the main things that you need. Number one is the focus of all your kaychas and nefesh in whatever you're doing. 100% rikus. And when a person puts together all his kaychas and nefesh, his kaych is tenfold. It's so much more powerful. When he's doing something half-heartedly or wholeheartedly, it's such a world of difference. If you notice in the tefillah of Gershon, you get to Yankee reading, you go through all the other Salim and the Chosim, you get to Yankee, you say, Yichad Leiv V'gol Evan. This is a reference to when the Yankee reading first came to Chon, at the beginning of Passion 80. There was an Evan, the Dod Al-Piyah Be'er, that nobody was able to lift it. And they would wait till Nes, Ushama, Kol Ha'adam, all the people would come together, and that's when they would together lift it. And he thought it was a waste of time. So Yichad Leiv V'gol Evan. How do you do it? Just with Yichad Leiv. Meaning focusing on all his kaychas. Bringing it all together, and that gave the power. On that passage when the Yaakov is Gol Evan, Rashi says, Melamed Shal Yikoich Gol. So the Python is saying he was Yichad Leiv, and Rashi is saying that he was very powerful. So it's not a seal. What gave him that power was pushing the Yichad Leiv. He's doing things merukes and focused. You know, if you say that his attention and his alertness on any issue, whatever is going on, if you're just standing on the street corner, the attention is at the highest time. There's no such thing as being spaced out, being lazy, not being attentive. Everything is a full focus. And Kosh came, he put those guys in the line. He doesn't miss a ha'ar on the yard. Doesn't miss a digarash. You know what that is? I remember it happened with us. We were discussing a certain kasha of Gevega, and his chavus, Shmuley Klein, was going to bring it to him. I said, don't mention them. He knows to figure out the kasha. Don't say it. And he learned the Gemara within a few minutes. I mean, that kasha came up. He wouldn't miss a beat. He learned this. The focus, the attention, the Yichad Leiv is Gol Evan on every idiot. That was actually a phenomenal kasha. How to do that? You know, it says, I think it says it in the Siddur Agra, in the Pirush of the Sikh Yitzhak. He says something very powerful. In the end of Asher Motzin, he says something, so on that, he goes into the famous Chazal that Ilu Yoda Ruven, that the Torah is going to write about him, so he would have carried Yosef on his shoulders to bring him all the way to Yangbei. And the Pashas of this Chazal is shred. The Pashas sounds like if you know he gets such good press out of it, he would have been motivated to do something much better. And we're talking about the daily over here, they're not motivated by getting good press. So he says, so many say different shatan. And the pshat has to fit in Ilu Yoda Ar and Ilu Yoda Bayis in a few places. His pshat fits very well in this one, Ilu Yoda Reuben. He says like this. When Reuben said, that was a very weak hatzah. That wasn't carrying him out safe of love. He says the reason why he made such a weak hatzah is because he wasn't 100% confident that he's doing the right thing, maybe not to Yosef. There was a bezin, there was a sahedin that passing Yosef is Mechoy Visa. Somebody is Mechoy Visa to go give him a route of escape, that's not hatzah. That's an hour. So he didn't like the psak, and he wasn't happy with it, and he had some concerns, but he wasn't 100% confident he was doing the right thing. So Mele, he didn't have the courage to do a real Hatzalah. The extent that he was able to do was Hashlichu Yisrael Abayr Hazeh. That was the extent he was able to do. But had he only known that the Torah sees it as a Tzolah, that the Torah is going to be Machtiv Yishmaru Vayatzilei Miyodim, that it's Erlich what he's doing and not Erlich Zubsar, then he would have had the courage to do so much more. So he's saying that what gives a person the courage to do on such a huge scale, with such a power, is how sure and how confident he is he's doing the right thing. He's doing what he's nivra for. He's doing what his tafkid is. He's doing what his tachlis is. He is connected to the eternality right now with this. That's what gives a person to do things at such a great power and to a great extent. You have to be as Yosef did something that the only one I know who did something like that was a Shach. I mean, there were 30 years that he was working for the main Brooklyn. He was learning Be'im God with no yeshiva, no oil, no chavrusa. He had a few Malabat that were loyal to him, but if you know them, they're tired about none of them have any shaykhs as Kadin. He was bringing it out. You know what that is? I'm going to hurry through this and say 60 shurim on this Taisvus. I don't care. This is learning, and you're in a whole stream that people are learning, nobody's doing that. That only goes on in the yeshivas, that kind of learning. He was doing it in the wilderness, in Brooklyn, and nobody's doing that. Nothing. If you don't walk into a real yeshiva of a top level, there's just no such thing. Later on, he got to Vardik, and then we got to Arkad. He was Mamash Machai himself. He's a whole Edmund loves to do this, but for years and years and years, it was his own conviction, his own belief, his own clarity that this is real and this is learning. And don't fool yourself to think that you learn the sugya without looking into Machlokes Ramban and Rashi, without thinking about it, or without catching every dig in Rashi, or without learning about it. Don't ever fool yourself. This is how he lived. And this gave the courage to do something that nobody was able to do. This is something that you know when he had this prolific career in Panovich, but that was the second 100 years. Like the first 100 years, he was doing all on his own. When he was in Shalim, there was not much learning right after the war. I mean, he just, it was very few people. And the only way you can do it is only if you know this is the real thing. This is the real learning, and you don't substitute, and you don't compromise, and there's no muckum in your home and see this for compromise, because of the clarity of how you perceive the truth and what's real. And more than that, anytime he has a responsibility on him, let's say he has a responsibility to mail back a credit card bill. How serious does he take that responsibility? Any responsibility, he has to go to the doctor. Whatever it is. It can be a small, minor thing. How chayiv do you feel you are? Everybody on everything has different levels. How chayiv you are. Imagine you come, you owe somebody money. He asks you, where's the money owed? You say, oh, I'm really apologetic, I don't have it right now, I hope to have it in a week or two. How chayiv do you feel you are? That you're going to work that whole week or two, or that you're going to have it on the time before he comes to ask you. There are all different levels of how a person feels a chiyuv. Yosef that felt any chiyuv he had, even if it's a minor etiquette kind of chiyuv, he felt the chayim of the chiyuv. Mamish tremendous. Mamish tremendous. And Koshkin, the real chiyuv. Koshkin is chiyuv to be Isaac Batera. His need, it's just unbelievable. The sense of how much the chayva is Ribner. That he can't compromise, he can't ignore it, he can't be light about it, he can't do it weakly, he can't do a poor version of it. That is something that is what made him great. And every one of you have a shaykhs to that greatness, and every one of you could find it. It doesn't mean just because you're an enical doesn't mean you have it like this. There could be work. You have to bring it out. But you could bring it out, and it's there. And you saw a person that really more than that. Usually, not small that he tends to be. You know what it was to interrupt him in a lunch? Suppose it would be a CB had an interruption. You know what it was? You take somebody out of a trance. He's just so focused, so in it, and so in. You got to be example, when somebody's outside, they need you. What? It's a very different world. But the man of belief that he gave to what he had to do is just phenomenal and just something that's only once among the highest elements of life. So only the mamish belief, so that aspect of commitment and belief in it, and the uniting all the different cases. Let me just tell you a little cute story that happened. I might have shared this story with him. At some point, there was a time that when I was working in Staten Island, so I invited him to give a share every Shabbos to the boys on the Kadin Sefer, every Sefer. Fridays I wasn't able to be there, and I wanted him to fill in, but I wanted this to be a program, so I invited him to come give some kind of chavuras. It was really voluntary, but most of the serious boys liked it, and they liked his chaburas. It's Kadin has a Kadin Sefer that discusses a lot of interesting things in general outlook. There was a time that he was rotating with Rabbi Zazelli, like it was every other week. And I get a call one Thursday night from Rabbi Zazelli telling me that it's his turn tomorrow. But it's a very big difficulty for him to get. He says, "You think I can call him Yosef and ask him to fill in for me? Do you think I can do that?" I said to him, "Let me tell you what's going to happen. He's not going to like it. He's so much so that he has to always ask him what is he going to do every second of the day tomorrow. This wasn't the program to go to Staten Island, He's not going to like it. He's going to give you still a hard time. But as soon as he hangs up the phone and told you no, he's going to pull out the Rabban from his throat and look into it, and within like 45 seconds, he's going to get a horror that's going to rush the adrenaline into his face and get all excited about it. And he's going to call you back. I say, it's okay, I can do it. I say, if you want to go through all these moves, if you're ready for the first phone call, then you can do it. But this is what you're in for. He called him Yosef. Come on, you told me 2 days ago I would have had I'm sorry. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I can't help you. 2 minutes later, I believe he's telling his phone rings. Yeah, I think I might be able. So ladies just started to laugh. He said, "What's the joke? What's so funny?" He told me that Gershon predicted that every move. He said, Yeah, it's what happened. I Doctor went in and I opened up the tape. It's exactly what happened. He started laughing and he went in and gave the shit. But this is what it was. This is like what I used to about what it meant to him, learning the Geschmack and the Lichtigkeit that he had learning. And there's one other very important point that is Indigo have to know how to balance. He was different than, let's say, his holy Rebbe, the Rebbe Feigl. The Rebbe Feigl was a big Baal Seichel, big Baal Das, and not a Baal Regesh. Very secondary to Regesh. Your Zayd is a big Baal Das, but a big Baal Regesh also. Very big Baal Regesh. And the ability to make it that the Das and the Seichel is shaylet, and there's no expression given to any Regesh unless it totally went through the Seichel with a Klarkeit. That was an ability that he mastered. But Etzem, he was always gets very excited on things, or he has big, strong emotional reactions. But it was all after it was well calculated and fully controlled, which is a tremendous godless and a very important thing, how to balance. And there is a mokum for Regesh. There definitely is. There's a lave and there's high emotions, but you can't become in the darker emotion is to let the emotion. He had full control over it, and it was fully calculated and fully worked out. I say, which is the balance that to work both of them together is a very important element of Shivas. So you never have to really squelch the emotions. You really just have to have the das being straight with them. I want to tell you another thing that he worked on himself in the last 15 years. That he didn't have in the early years. Just that you'll have us talk about what his issues were, what his issues were, and how he killed to get ahead of them. Because he was so sharp and so alert, he caught everything. So when you're talking like a shaita, he sees it so clearly, and it gets him so sick. Or you're acting like anything. And when he was younger, he would tell it to you. And as he got older, he learned to be safe. And he was safe a lot. Because he's catching everything, remember. He's catching everything. If he has a chavusa that's total, they're not even treating him properly. He the whole time never loses his cool, full control, always be mechaber the guy, always talking like a mensch. This took years and years of work, you can imagine that. Because when you're so alert, and you still have it all worked out, what's right or what's wrong, he's be'etzim ready to tear you apart. And it's years and years, the last 10 or 15 years. He just once told me, I learned it, just don't tell anybody, And I used to sometimes watch, there was one young man before Shmuel that loved him, that didn't have the right derech that didn't know how to talk and did that, and how he would say, he was always like, so you hold this, but like, I would hear that he making a fool of the guy, but that guy didn't hear it, and he never let it on. He just would just completely talking to him respectfully. But it's not that.